Assalamu alaikum and welcome once again to another episode of the New World Education Podcast, a universal education for a universal people. Well, today we are on episode number 19. Of course, 19 is the signature of Allah, and it is a very special number to us in the as Muslims, in particular us in the Nation of Islam. And today we're going to talk about a subject that is um, very important to those who follow the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we're going to talk about a school that's within the Supreme Wisdom curriculum that was produced by the Supreme Wisdom Educational Center, and it deals with a school of how to eat to live for nutrition, health, and beauty appearance. And so today I have a special personal testimony that I would like to share with you all. But before we get into that, what I would like to do, of course, is once again thank you for tuning in, for taking time out of your busy schedule to hear what we have to say and what we have to share of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I want to thank, of course, my teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, for without him, there would be nothing that I have to say or I would have to share with you all. And I want to thank, of course, my esteemed and illustrious co-hosts. I would like to thank Sister Ava Muhammad. She's not currently on, but she'll be joining us in just a second. She had a previous engagement, and she serves as our program manager and sound engineer, and also co-host. And of course, I would like to thank Sister Gabrielle for, her scholarship, for her knowledge, for her insightful commentary to this conversation, because that's what we're having. We're having a conversation that we hope that you all can share, in on, and take the conversation further and go to people that you know and continue the conversation and to continue to think on the thoughts that we share with you in this podcast. And of course, we want to thank the Supreme Wisdom Educational Center for sponsoring this podcast. And before we get into anything, we would, of course, like for you to please, if you like our content, please give us a thumbs up. And if you think that we have something that is of value, we ask that you share it with somebody who you think that might benefit from this content. And thirdly, of course, if you haven't become a part of our community, we would love to have you become a part of our community and, of course, subscribe to our channel. We have a live chat that will be going on. Any comments or questions that you might have as we are having our dialogue, we would love to have you all to chime in on the conversation. It always makes the dialogue a lot more colorful, and it brings layers and substance to our dialogue and to our conversation. Well, let me always start where I like to start is by actually just checking in with my co-hosts, seeing how they're doing today. What was your week like? Just catches up. Oh, and by the way, we have been MIA, AKA missing in action, for the last 2 weeks. And in just a few minutes, I'll share with you why we weren't on. But until then, let's go ahead and check in with Sister Gabrielle Muhammad, Sister Make It Plain, and see how she's doing today.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Um, I'm well as I usually am. Just a little bit more sleep deprived, a little bit more stress, but good stress. You can't make a diamond without pressure. So I'm just
Come on now.
Just gonna take it as that.
Okay.
My semester started off a little rough. It still has its bumps, but it's getting better. getting
Okay.
progress. I've
Okay.
gotten some positive feedback from my professors. So
Okay.
I'm just trying to keep up the good work in my classes and survive to the end of this semester.
Survival, huh? Says what's the saying? Um can we survive?
Yeah, right, right. Yeah,
Southern
yeah,
University Law Center. Yeah. Yes,
yes,
we
yes,
can. We can survive. And so
yes.
I know that you're going to do well. And of course, you all are still um, operating on an online platform for school.
Oh, oh yes. I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit later.
Well,
I,
actually, now might be a good time because the segment that we're going into is actually dealing with that. And so it might not be a bad idea to go ahead and share that right now.
no, I actually was going to go and ask you about your week because I knew that was going to, I guess, segue into the reason we were MIA for the past 2 weeks, and also just to check in on you as our last guest got us, it reminded us, a reminder is a mercy that we, even though we're your daughters, we still should check in on you because we are not together. We're not in the same
Right,
city like we used to be
right.
because you've recently moved. Well, can't you just say
Okay.
recent now, but you've moved to another
Yes.
city. So, how are you doing today, mother?
Well, I would tell you, daughter, that this couple of last weeks I've been struggling. Not struggling, struggling.
I understand.
It has been a journey, and I am on my way to, you know, to a strong finish. As our brother said, Brother Nipsey Hussle, it ain't a sprint, it's a marathon. It's a marathon, it ain't a sprint. So that's kind of, what we are doing. What I had it wrong.
I don't even know the song, so I can't even tell you.
Oh Lord. I tell you, when you have children that are less in the know than you are, it's bad.
Eh,
About popular culture. That's funny. But overall, I count it all as a blessing. And I will share with you all in just a minute why we've been absent and why I've been struggling for the last 3 weeks. But nonetheless, yeah, talking about online school, our current events, which we hadn't done in the last couple of episodes, I want to, of course, bring back because I just don't want to share stuff just for the sake of sharing. There's always something in the news that could be spoken about, but if it's really not directly relevant to the subject at hand, a new world education, I mean, how many times can I beat the dead horse, COVID-19? I mean, you just can't beat it that many times. A dead horse is dead. So therefore, just hitting it again is not going to make it come alive. So the point is that in terms of a lot of the educational news, it deals around COVID-19. Now, the story that I'm going to share today is around COVID-19, but with a little twist, because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, way back, 78 or going on 18 years now, told us that we should start online classes where we can educate people around the world. And I look, it's a short segment. It's just it's a little less than 2 minutes. And so it's a news clip that I saw last week. And I was like, I got to share this with our audience. So what I'm going to do, as they say, I can show you better than I can tell you. So what I'm going to do is share this with you right quick and let you take a look at what this news caster was reporting. So give me just a second to pull up my screen, and we'll the go into the this is the title of this is Chicago Teachers Union votes against in-person learning, which could lead to a strike. So just let me know, of course, whether or not you can hear, but let's go ahead and look at what this newscaster had to say. Can you hear?
No, ma'am.
You say no?
I heard a little something, but it sounded kind of low.
Okay, well, let's see what else might be the issue. Because we had this issue last time. So I am up on full sound. So if there is a problem, what I'm going to do is share it with you and let you.
Try share system sound. That's what you need to do in your
Okay, well, let's see
your
whether or not
options.
we're on this. Okay, hold on just a second, y'all. This is live TV. I love it. Okay. Yeah, that's what we needed to do. That's why Gabrielle is so valuable. She is our technician. Okay, so let's go ahead and try it again. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear.
Negotiations continue today and still no deal announced, meaning we may be on the brink of the second teacher strike here in Chicago in less than 2 years. This one over a disagreement about when to return physically to the classroom. The city wanted that date to be February 1st for elementary and middle school students, about 70,000 of them having the option to come back and return to that in-person instruction. And they wanted teachers to start coming back to school today in preparation for that. But the union has been rejecting this reopening plan, saying that it is happening too quickly. They say it's a matter of health and safety. A reopening plan that's closer to the vaccination plan. They want their teachers to be vaccinated before returning to the classrooms. Parents telling me that they just feel stuck in the middle. They see the effects, the psychological effects of their students in that virtual learning. But you have other families saying this. Listen here.
Why are we being forced to send my husband back to teach, my students back to learn, and then we know that children are carriers and that they will be carrying it back home. We have taken every safety precaution since the beginning.
And because the return to in-person learning would be optional for those families, you're also seeing a disparity in who is deciding to send their kids back. When you look at Black, Latino, Asian families, only about a third of those families plan to return to in-person learning. When you look at white families across the city in elementary schools, that number jumps to about 70%. Shep?
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for.
So, well, how about them apples?
Yeah,
How about that?
Yeah, and that goes directly into what I was going to say about going to school, because I was right before we got online, I was having a conversation with someone and they were asking me about school and, how's it going to school online and do you have a plan on going back in person? And I was like, interestingly enough, you bring it up. This Friday, our school had for the first year law students, they have a town hall meeting with our administration almost every other week. And one of the students had asked the administration, like, when are we going back on campus? And the administrators were like, we don't know.
I don't know her.
Right. And so, but the answer was the president of the university was saying that, basically they're making decisions in real time and they're, making these decisions. And so last semester, which was my first semester, we had the option to go online or go in person. So we had hybrid learning going on. But this semester, it was mandatory for the entire campus to go online. And the reason was because there were multiple COVID outbreaks on campus the prior semester, and also that because the trends for the COVID cases and deaths were on the rise, and at that time, last year, towards the end of last year, they were saying that in the spring season, that's when it's going to peak. And so the administration decided to just go ahead and take everybody off campus. And so with next semester, they were saying, but as far as next semester, they said, we don't know, because the decision to go back on campus is really hinging on the vaccination rollout. And so they're saying, so basically, as soon as they said that, people in the chat, students were like, so you're saying we're going to have to be forced to take the vaccination. So immediately that let me know that the general population is not really sure and on board with these vaccines. And I believe, again, it's not because of conspiracy theory. It's because people are finally starting to wake up and realize, okay, we don't know if these vaccines are safe and effective. Based on what? Based on the fact that they were fast tracked, based on the fact that they were really put it on the market for emergency use and not really clinically tested. Nobody knows the long-term effects. So it's like people are just kind of putting two and two together. But here's the funny thing. Going back to the Beyond Tuskegee lectures that Brother Wesley did, is that now you have two new strains of corona, that the one from the UK and the one from South Africa, that are now popping up in the United States. And so the thing is that all of those vaccines, those hundreds of thousands, who knows, billions of vaccines that were being fast-tracked and produced, are now basically null and void for the new strands. And so again, if you're going to I guess make another round of vaccines for these new ones, let's say, how fast did they fast track it in Project Warp Speed? What, 4 months? It was months. That's all I know. It was months that they were able to come up with those vaccines. Now you have two new strands. And now if they fast track that, and it still takes a matter of months, that's going to put you into the middle of this year, towards the end of this year. And then that's just producing. Now you have to what? You have to distribute, which is a whole nother thing, right? But at the rate that this virus is mutating, who knows, in the next 4 to 8 months, there can be new strands. So basically it's crippling these systems that are trying to go back to normal, and it's really halting them, because you now have a catch-22 where you have things that people depend on, say for instance, like an education, that is being disrupted. It's not just changing, as you can see, like with public schools, they really are at their wits' end. Like, okay, online education is really not working for these students because they're not able to stay focused, they're not motivated, and they feel like they're not learning. And then you have the whole thing is that you can't throw, basically COVID carriers in these small rooms to where they possibly they will more than certainly infect other people and cause another outbreak. So the education is not only being crippled, it's being like completely halted. It is being completely halted. So again, this virus, or what have you, might have been, planned in advance and maybe made in a lab, but the fallout, make the ones who designed it and put it together, they probably knew what's going on. And I'm pretty sure at some point they're making millions and they're reaping the benefits of it. But the actual society, the people who were not in the know, these, law school has nothing to do with chemicals in laboratories. They don't lawyers can't tell you what to do about, biology. You see what I'm saying? School teachers can't tell you what to do. There's an educational conspiracy, but that educational conspiracy or the failure of the public school system really had nothing to do with chemicals and biology and things like that. They might be trying to put your children on Ritalin and, chemically lobotomize them and track them and all that. But that's a totally separate thing from a virus that they themselves, since they were not in on the conspiracy, it's totally disrupting their system. So it almost reminds me of when the minister was asking, he was asking Black people, why do you have a problem with Trump? He said, did Trump not take on these these governmental agencies, like these intelligence agencies. He said, were the intelligence agencies Black people's friend? No. He said, did Trump not take on the IRS? And so, and then that's what he said, was the IRS ever a friend of Black people? No. Did Trump not take on the Pope? Was the Pope a friend of Black people? No. So that's the kind of the same thing I'm thinking about this virus. It's like, okay, the virus, yeah, you know, we might not like it, we might not we might are being affected by it, but at the same time, is the virus not taking on our enemies as the public food system? You see what I'm saying? Is the virus not taking on our enemies, which is the medical industrial complex? Is the virus not fighting, you know, really the government of the United States?
That's right.
So I just think it's interesting. I just think it's interesting.
You got a point. Welcome, Sister Demoiselle. How are you doing this week?
Yes, ma'am. I'm making it.
You're struggling like I had said. I was struggling.
Yeah, struggling. Yeah, with an SC, struggling.
Yes. But praise be to Allah. Good to see you on. I don't know if you got a chance to see the clip, but what I wanted to do was deal with the, of course, what Sister Gabrielle was saying, that this coronavirus not only is shutting down systems, but in addition to that, it's literally shifting paradigms. There were two caveats in that clip that I wanted us to look at. And of course, one was, of course, that the school teachers, we're in the middle of the school year, right? One, we said that the educators were going to be in the next wave of these vaccines. There are many of us who are teaching out in these systems, and, you know, especially those of us who are in the nation, right? And we have a moratorium on taking this COVID-19 vaccine, which puts us in a very precarious position, because as people who object, or conscientious objectors to these vaccines, that means that you have to sign a waiver saying that anytime any type of outbreak occurs, not that you are a threat to those who took the vaccine, but they are actually a threat to you, that you will stay out at least 2 weeks until the wave of the vaccine passes, or so whatever time such that the vaccine has passed. And as they say, there was herd immunity.
You mean the virus?
Excuse me, the virus. I do apologize. I keep saying vaccine. So with that being said, for us, you know, that puts us in a position where we had to make decisions. And so, but if you watch the video, the interesting thing, and this is in Chicago, right? This is where our headquarters is, right? If you watch the video, it said that they polled the parents of the children. Only 30% of the Black and Latino people that were polled were even willing to put their children back in school. That is so not what I thought would happen. I thought because of the fact that we had, you know, to go to work, and we had all these other different barriers that were against us being at home with our children, that we would say, I can't wait to get them back in school. But just the opposite happened. 72, I think it was, or 70 or 72% of those that were polled who were white was like, I can't wait to get my children back in school. Yes, I'm going to send them. Now, so we need to ask ourselves, what is behind that thinking? We need to ask ourselves, what is it that we can do as educators? This is like the prime opportunity for us to jump in the gap. You have teachers that are conscientious objectors who don't want to take the vaccine, but our educators who may have to make a decision whether or not to stay or whether or not to leave. And if they leave, that means how many qualified educators will we have just around that possibly could, start an online school? And we have how many children? And just in Chicago alone, you have 70% of the Black and brown parents said they're not sending their children back into the school system. It's a perfect storm. I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking too deep into it, but it seems like a solution to me. So with that being said, I just think that we need to seize the moment. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I thought Sister Dana was going to say something about that, but I mean, just to pick up what you were putting down. Yes, this the season is ripe for us to do for self, but honestly, I think that these systems they see what's on the horizon, and trust me, once you take a stand and say I'm not going to do it, you'll be surprised how fast they're like, okay, well, I guess we'll do something different. But what I'm saying is, even with that, don't fall for that.
Yeah,
Don't fall for that, because like just like with when what's his name? Dave Chappelle was saying when the producer, he was on the set of a movie, and the producer at the last minute decided to change the scene where they was going to put him in a dress, and basically after he put up a little resistance, said, I'm not going to put on a dress, he said they like within 40 minutes,
walked out the trailer and came right back.
They had another scene to replace it, and it just went on, business as usual. And so the thing is that, while there might, the older institutions and the old way of thinking might put up a little bit of resistance, there are, I would say, tech companies that's on the other side, ready and willing to pick up those people that were being left behind by the old system, and that didn't want to be involved in the old system. And so don't even after that, take this as an opportunity to escape. You see what I'm saying? Because they're going to try to offer you something on the other side where you still end up becoming, a slave to someone else. So even with that, still, cut your losses, because again, that might sound like reckless for me saying, oh, well, you don't work, you don't know. But the thing is that, just like Sister Deborah was saying, now, from our perspective, people are there's a whole market that's going to be open, looking for us, just like the other people on the other side that's going to be offering you a job. People are looking for something different. And so instead of just having everybody only have one option, when you set yourself apart, you can be one of those options that people take. And this is the perfect time right now, as is with before, why would, even though the technology was there and the qualified teachers there and the capacity was there, people were saying, basically, why would I go with you when there's something else that's easier and available? And so now, when these teachers don't want to go back to the school, and they have these newer companies that's offering alternatives, you yourself can offer an alternative as well, and be take advantage of that market.
Exactly. So, and one thing I want to go back and I want to clear up, because Sister Gabrielle said that, now I'm not saying that she's wrong, but I just want to say what the scientists say about the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines. They say supposedly they're 95% effective against catching the coronavirus, which that is not necessarily the case. And from what I understand, they're underreporting the reactions that people are having to taking these vaccines. So with that being said, I just want to put that out, that that we're not saying, because we have to have the science to back this up, that they're not effective against the novel coronavirus, or the two variants, the European or the South African virus. But as the onion begins to peel away, you find more and more every day they're saying, oh, Well, we think that it'll be effective against the European variant. We think that it'll be effective against the South African variant. Oh, well, maybe it's not. And so every day they're changing the narrative little by little. So what I'm saying is that Sister Gabrielle is probably correct, but what they're reporting is changing moment by moment. Okay, so with that being said, we want to deal with Sister Deborah. You have something to say? I see.
So I was just gonna say, I was just gonna say, well, that's what happens when you experiment. It will change moment by moment.
True that.
Man,
True.
that was so deep. I just love it when you just come in and just like wrap it all up in like these one-liners. I mean, wow.
But that's what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad did. And that's what I want to really deal with today as we go into our subject matter. And so before we do that, you know, we always try to take a clip of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, of course, or in this case, those who represent him and represent him to the highest. So what we want to do today, with that being said, what Sister Demoiselle said, which is actual and factual, we want to bring up his national spokesperson, Sister Dr. Ava, Student Minister Ava Muhammad, Sister Student Minister Dr. Ava Muhammad, let's get it right. And this is a lecture that she delivered right after the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan delivered the criterion. And there's a clip in there that struck me and that I thought would be so appropriate for the topic of a school of how to eat to live, that we want to bring this clip that she had, because it's very important in what we will have to share in just a few moments. And after we go into this clip, then I'll kind of share with you all my personal testimony about these last 3 weeks, and we'll get off into the topic. Sister Gabrielle?
Let's look at why this virus is different. What makes it different is what it has exposed in the system called America. Remember, Minister Farrakhan's Savior's Day message was entitled "The Unraveling of a Great Nation," and 3 weeks later, the United States came to a screeching halt. One of the major things that this virus has exposed is the healthcare system, or lack thereof, of the United States. We have been taught that an aim of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is to destroy the so-called medical profession. Why? Because it is a culture of drugs. It is not a culture of healing. Now listen, when this virus showed up in the United States, it revealed greed, it revealed incompetence, it revealed the wicked mindset of this nation. This is a place built on kidnapping, murder, rape, forced labor, lying, stealing, and terrorism. And it is sustained by all of the above through institutions based upon anti-Black racism, sexism, materialism, and an inordinate nationalism. COVID virus humiliated the United States, proving that she is actually the so-called third world country that she labels all the nations that are led and populated by people of color. It is you, America, that are the third world country. Why? Because you don't have a soul. You don't have a heart. You are a mean, selfish bully of a country. You hate anybody that needs help, especially when you're the reason they need the help. You make your people sick. You allow multinational corporations to sell nicotine, alcohol, fake food, products full of carcinogens. You pay your essential workers, which COVID revealed, who the real service providers are in this nation. You pay your essential workers less than they need to live because you were built on free labor, so you hate to pay anybody. Your law enforcement is totally corrupt. The police, trained by the Israeli military to kill black people, especially our men and our children. You hate to give care and assistance. You hate the elderly. You hate babies and children. You hate the descendants of your former slaves. You do not have a culture of healing. You do not care for the sick. So when you have a health problem, beloved, in this country, you don't get care. You get a prescription. You don't go in a hospital. You go to Walgreens or Walmart or CVS or whatever, and you get your pills. America is the biggest drug dealer on the planet Earth, along with New Zealand. Now, how New Zealand coupled with America, I don't know, but there's a reason. But the United States and New Zealand are the only two countries on the earth where pharmaceutical companies can advertise directly to the consumer. Everywhere else is illegal. So we, the consumer, watch commercials. Then we go to the doctor and ask the doctor, can you give me that purple pill that I saw on television? And when they advertise, not only are they allowed to do that, but the sale part of the commercials are given on a 6th grade level vocabulary. The adverse effects are given on a college level vocabulary. Oh, this pill is awesome. It's going to make you happy. It's going to make you jump up and down. And you're going to hug your husband and love your children. And if you grow a third eye and if you develop some fatal events, call 911. And if your arms fall off and if the fatal events, we all get one fatal event per person. If I take the pill and I have a fatal event, I'm not calling anybody, but I guess I'm cured. Chris Rock told it right. He said,
okay, nobody does it like student minister Ava Muhammad. Yes. Just so plain, so, I mean, something, however she speaks the word, there is no blockage between her word and your brain. It literally goes straight in without any filter. I just, you know, she has a gift. She has a gift. And like, what's her name off of the Tom Joyner show? She said she got the gift and she got to use it. You remember her?
No.
Okay, that might be before y'all time. But anyway, anywho, yeah. So what I want to do is, before we get into the conversation, even before we talk about our clip, because there was so much in there, is that I want to tell a little bit about my personal testimony. And I think the last time that I had spoken to you all, I was talking about that I had a toothache, and that, you know, that I was dealing with the toothache. And so what happened is that right after the beginning of the year, I went to the dentist, and I thought that maybe they were going to pull it. I was trying to see if I could save the tooth, whatever. And so now at the dentist, what they do before they do any work on you, they take your blood pressure. And so first of all, I have white coat phobia. I do not like people who wear white coats. So the whole thing about it, unless if it's a double-breasted white coat, but nonetheless, I don't like white coats because I have had such just bad experiences, you know, just going to the doctor. So it's like, I don't know what they're taught, you know, in terms of bedside manner. I have no clue. But it just seems like there's no compassion. Everything is so fatalistic and so on and so forth. So they took my blood pressure and they say it's high. Now, mind you, I just taken my blood pressure that morning because I have my own personal blood pressure cuff. Never really had any real problems with my blood pressure. So I go there and they take, as a matter of fact, that morning my blood pressure was fine. They go there, my blood pressure is off the chain, is high. And so they said, well, you know, maybe you could just wait a little while and take it again, and so on and so forth. So they waited a little while and took it again. It still was high. And so they said, well, let us try it with the cuff. And I always tell them that it's hard for me to take it with the cuff because of it always squeezes my arm so much that it leaves a bruise on my arm. So I don't know if they put it too tight, but it still was high. And so the dentist, he came in there and saw me. He said, look, he said, there's really nothing I can do with you today. He said, if it were up to me, I would be calling 911 to take you to the emergency room because your blood pressure is just that high. And so anyway, I'm like, you know, I got to make some changes. Even if it was white coat phobia, whatever it is, I know in myself I needed to make some changes. Just to give you a little history about myself. I have not eaten chicken. I have not eaten red meat, beef, or any type of red meat since 1994. I have not eaten chicken since 1996. In 1999, when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had us to join the fasting during the month of Ramadan on the Islamic calendar and switched us over from the December fast, he asked us as Muslims not to eat any meat, you know, land, flesh, or fish, which is like the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked us during the December fast not to eat any meat. But he didn't exclude fish. So people would eat fish. So the minister said he wanted us to go all vegetarian for that month. And so, of course, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us in How to Eat to Live that the fast of Ramadan is a sign of the life of the hereafter. And so at that time, me and my husband at the time, we decided that, you know, that a reminder is a mercy. And so we just decided to go strictly vegetarian starting, and that would have been coming up to the year 2000 because it was December. We joined the fast of Ramadan with the Islamic world. the minister's so wise. We joined it at the same time in December as we would have normally had our December fast. So we continued become, the vegetarian life. It was just a good segue. And so what happened is that for a brief moment, I went back to eating fish, maybe for about a year, but I just wasn't feeling, optimal. So once I decided that eating the fish didn't make me feel as well, I just went off the fish, and I've been vegetarian literally, probably 19 years. And, but, with different things, everybody's body's different. So you have to eat food that, that is most conducive to your health, according to the dictates of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Not everybody can eat rice because, for some people, the rice may be too starchy and put sugar in the blood. Not everybody can do the same thing. So, that is one of the challenges that I have had personally. And so I decided that this year would be a year of me, that I would take time, now that I'm no longer serving on a laborer's post, that I would take time to take care of me, take care of my health, reduce my stress, do the things that I need to do, to get my blood pressure under control, just make sure that I'm here, to do the work that I need to do. So I decided in January, during the starting with the unity fast, that I would go on an extended fast, because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us in this book, How to Eat to Live, and we'll talk about this in just a second. He teaches us that fasting will cure 90% of everything that's wrong with you. Now, that's 90% of everything that's wrong with you. Fasting has been proven in clinical studies to reduce high blood pressure, hypertension, has been proven to reduce or eliminate insulin resistance and diabetes. It, of course, eliminates excess weight. It has been known to actually stimulate what they call human growth hormone. It also it produces what they call autophagy in the system. It converts your fuel source from burning glucose to burning your fat. So fasting is a cure for 90% of all of your ills. And the other percentages, we're even talking as much, even cancer, that fasting can, if caught in, a proper time, can have an effect on, cancer. So I went on an extended fast. And so the reason I said that for the last 3 weeks, I've been struggling because as Sister Gabrielle said, we kind of habitually fast. That's not really something that's uncommon to what we do, and we do extended fasts sometimes. But I decided that I was going to do a 21-day fast for health, for growth, for just more discipline, and just really to kick off the year, to a real good start. Okay. So, so for the last 2 weeks, it's been kind of difficult because this for some reason, this fast has been just really kind of difficult. And I'll just share with you the first 7 days of my fast. I was dropping it so fast, and that's mostly water. I lost 11 pounds in 7 days. Yes. And so, yeah, that's good. And that maybe, so 11 pounds in 7 days. And of the 21 days of fasting, I lost a little over a pound a day. Now, let me say this. Yes, because I lost 23 pounds in 21 days. Yes. And so let me say this. I am not a doctor, just like they have to do the disclaimer. I am not advocating that anybody does this. Like I said, I've been a faster for a extended period of time. So fasting for me was something that I was accustomed to. And one thing, if you know anything about me, I will research something to death. So anything that's going on with me, any symptom, I'm going to research. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. I'm not a doctor, but I tell you what, who is? This man right here, Elijah Muhammad, is the doctor that we should go to right there. And so what I suggest is that if you want to get on a fast and you have not been fasting like this, that you need to consult, your doctor, your, medical consultant, whoever you're dealing with. If you're going to do a fast, I would say more than 5 days. And so with that being said, which brings us to our topic today, which is how to eat to live. I want us to discuss what student minister Ava said, but I want to lead us into something. First, I want to, and I love this book. I love these books. It's How to Eat to Live Book 1 and How to Eat to Live Book 2. Every year, I do a study of these books. Now you heard me. I didn't say I read these books. I do a study of these books every year because there's just so much in them that it warrants, papers, clinical trials, research to be done on this How to Eat to Live. Now, I will say, I really don't, I'm like Prince. What is a birthday? I don't know what that means. But I will say for, yeah, I've heard Prince say, what is a birthday? But I will say for the record that I am in about a month going to be 55 years old. And, what is a birthday? It's just another day. I mean, I feel like every now and again you have a little aches and pains, but you know what could get rid of it? Fasting. But I mean, pretty much I feel the same way I always did. Nothing has really changed too much. And so with that being said, this is what I'm going to say from Dr. Muhammad. First page says the right way to eat. Dr. Muhammad says, there is no way for us to learn the right way to eat in order to live a long life, except through the guidance and teachings of Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. That's it. You could close the book and put it up, because that's it. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan I heard it first in an interview that he was doing with some educators. And I won't go into all the minutia of what happened, but suffice it to say, he told us at that meeting that he said one day, he said, How to Eat to Live is going to be made into a law. And then I think 2 Savior's Days later, at a believers meeting, he announced that How to Eat to Live is now a law. Think about that. He said it's now a law. That's just like the restrictive law of Islam. If you break a law, Sister Gabrielle, what did you tell me what a law was? You just told me that the other day. What constitutes a law?
Oh, I said a law is anything that legislation says is a law. Period. I learned that in law school. There's no criterion to be a law except that somebody wrote it down and said it's a law.
And the minister said it, so therefore what? It is a law. So How to Eat to Live is a law that is punishable by you getting sick. So that's what I got to tell you. So if you don't like being sick, follow the law. Period. Now with that, before we go into this, Student Minister Ava said that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's aim is to destroy the drug or pharmaceutical companies. Now think about that. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I want to say it's in How to Eat to Live. Sister Gabrielle could, find it, correct me, whatever. He said that when Master Fard Muhammad came to them in 1930, said he went into their medicine cabinets and took out all the pills out their medicine cabinet. So what did he know? So that's what we have to ask ourselves. I mean, if you were a person who came and took somebody's medicine away from them and was supposed to make them live, you might be able to be charged with a crime. Maybe some kind of some type of maybe not homicide, but maybe some manslaughter or something like that. If you withhold medicine from somebody who needs it to live. So for him to go into the medicine cabinets and take all the medicines out meant that he knew a knowledge that was superior to the knowledge that the doctors had. Now I want to read this out of, yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I just love these teachings so much. And
Yes.
like, I'm just like bearing witness in my head because the other past 2 weekends I fasted over the weekend. Just personally. It just makes me think clearer, and it makes me feel better, and I'm more effective at getting my work done. But anyway, I was having this conversation with somebody about just like, when you're fasting, how when you tell somebody you're fasting, they might, a regular person, average person on the street, you're like, I haven't eaten, in so many days. And that person might say, ooh, man, you crazy. I couldn't do that. I'll die. And then like, I'm reflecting, however many days, 5 days into a fast, 7 days into a fast, 10 days in a fast. And I'm like, man, I'm not dead yet. Yeah. And not only am I not dead, I feel more alive. And it's just like, like when you take that leap of faith and like jump off that, that when somebody tells you like you're not gonna fall, and then you jump off, and then you realize not only have you not fallen, but you're flying. And so it's just like, I was thinking about that when you were saying that about taking just the idea that when he took those medicines out of people's cabinet, he knew. And that knowledge that he had was greater, and it is an absolute fact because I can bear witness to it, because I've gone on extended fast 14 days without eating and was not dead, far from it. So it's just, that just struck me as so profound. Like you said, he had a knowledge that was greater than that. Mind you, each of those medicine bottles probably had a different pharmaceutical company. Maybe some of them were the same. It was months of research and trials and production and all these high names. And this unassuming man was able to just throw it all away. Just and that's kind of the same way with this educational system. He knew that if you just go in and metaphorically clear that cabinet out, he knew you were going to be okay. Like he had to have had. That's a what you call like deductive reasoning. As you eliminate more and more of the options and the possibilities, you only land on one result, is that his knowledge is greater than that of this world.
I like that.
That's deep.
Yeah. And that's deep. Let me just go ahead, because we could get into it. And because we're starting the hour late, so we wanna, so we'll be going until 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, and 10, I guess it will be on the West Coast. So anyway, from the problem book. The problem book is a book of problems, and there are 34 of them that explain the miserable condition that we were in when we were found by Master Ava Muhammad. Now, the thing is that the first 6 exclusively deal with our health condition. So these were the first problems that are presented for us, the lost found Muslims in the West. So they deal with issues of the pulse rate being too high. They deal with the issue of rheumatism, or what they call inflammation in the joints, high blood pressure. We deal with being overweight. These are all of the, what they call them, what are they called?
Comorbidities.
Comorbidities of Black people in America that we're facing now with the advent of the coronavirus. So he goes on to also talk about respiratory issues, about breathing so much air, so much atmosphere. And then he goes on to talk about having, this almost sounds like COVID-19. He talks about having blood pressure issues, fever, headache, chills, grip, hay fever, regular fever, rheumatism, and pain in all your joints. Cold morbidity, if I ever heard of it. And then he goes around and he says his post, because he talks about the uncles of Mr. W.D. Fard that lived in the wilderness in North America. But on number 6 is what I want to focus on. He talks about his pulse beats more than 80 times per minute. And if you know anything about a pulse, that is a normal pulse rate. 80 beats per minute is within the regular range. So he must be dealing with something else. So he says that therefore he has to go to the doctor every day and get medicine for every day in the year. After each meal and 3 times a day. So, and 1 at bedtime. So it's to take medicine 4 times a day. He's eating 3 meals a day. So we're going back to this, how do you live, right? Because that's part of what the problem is. It's in the first paragraph. I see you looking for it. Of 6. End of the paragraph. I'm not reading everything. So anyway, then he goes on to say that I'm skipping. He says 500 pills. 500 pills equals 1 pound. So that killed him at the age of 46. How many pounds of pills did Mr. W.D. Fard's second uncle use in 46 years? Then he goes on, I'm skipping. No, let me see. Okay, and the next part that I want to share is, I skipped over some. And he says, how much does Mr. W.D. Fard's second uncle rob in 40, they were talking about atmosphere, in 46 years? It says 20 pills cost 25 cents. That's a penny a pill, right? How much does this amount to in 46 years? Once a week, he gives the doctor $2.50, which was a lot back then. Remember, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad only had a dime to his name? He gives him $2.50 to renew his prescription. And in 52 weeks equals 1 year. So Mr. Muhammad wants to know how much money was spent for the pills and how much for the doctor. So he gave the doctor money and he gave the big pharma money. And so Student Minister Ava said that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad came to destroy the drug companies. And we know that these drug companies make money off of keeping us sick. So the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad comes to, or Master Fard Muhammad comes to give us life and give us life more abundantly. So he gives us 2 books, How to Eat to Live, book 1, which he focuses on in this book, basically the things that we should and shouldn't eat. The number one thing that we shouldn't eat is pork or the pork byproducts. And then he gives us a few other things that we shouldn't eat. He says absolutely no nuts. He says that nuts, for every time you eat nuts, I think he said it takes a year or 2 off of your life. 1 off of your life. So no nuts. And I know a lot of people out there on these various diets. You have the OMAD diet, which is the 1 meal a day diet. They halfway have it right. But when you mix truth up with falsehood, it's wrong. Sister Tamasel?
Oh, I was gonna say it's still a lie.
It's still a lie. Because they'll tell you you can eat pork, eat protein on the OMAD diet. You can eat, eat a little bit of pork, it's good protein. Eat nuts, it's good for you. So they tell you all this on the and they kale, that's all they talk about. That's the wonder vegetable these days. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, absolutely don't eat kale. Mm-mm. And so if you really just start researching what this man gave to us, you will see that everything that the scientists have researched was in this book. I mean, it didn't become book form until 1972, but it was in our teaching since 1930. How is it that they could have known this? How is it that we could have known this in 1930 without clinical trials, without research and peer-reviewed papers, except that Allah, in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, gave it to a man with a 3rd grade education. So this book deals with what to eat. Book number 2, Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, is a little thicker than book number 1. He deals with mostly the most important thing is to eat 1 meal a day. He said it's not so much important as what you eat, is when you eat, yes, and how regular you eat. He said if you eat 1 meal a day, you'll be sick 1 day out of the year. He asked him, he said, what if you eat 1 meal every other day? He said that I think you'll be sick for 1 hour. And he said, what if you eat 1 meal every 3 days? You'll never be sick. So now let's get into the discussion. Let's share. We have Minister Ava, what she talked about. We have, of course, the video. If you want to go to that, we have, our fasting journeys and just dietary health. And then we have, of course, speaking on the lessons and or how to live. Let's jump in.
Yeah, I wanted to because I did. That's just something I do in my free time, my research. But interestingly enough, going back to that, one of the aims of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was to destroy this medical profession. And going back to what we're talking about, the Master Ava Muhammad, that he was born to push the DuPonts and the Rockefellers into the lake of fire. So interesting enough, when you research the background of the DuPont and the Rockefeller, as we said earlier in our episodes of the podcast, is that we talked about how these certain families and these players were involved in this educational conspiracy. Your Rockefellers, your Morgans, your
Carnegie's,
your Vanderbilts, your Astors, all these different families. And interestingly enough, these are the same families and individuals that are involved in the medical conspiracy.
Right.
Because it was actually the Rockefellers that really changed the medical industry from a homeopathic medicine to the allopathic medicine, where everything is, a pill and and surgery and mainstream medicine. And it's because, going back to when we talked about how how they changed how they were able to change the educational system and change history, was that they started to recruit young men, from well-bred families and had, things going for themselves, into these secret societies. And what they would do is that they would put them in positions at the top of these different fields, whether it be education, history, the medical industry. And it's the same thing, is that they would put their agents and their people and the people involved with their organizations, they would put them over the medical schools, and they forced them to teach that this new way of medicine is the way medicine is supposed to be. And it really had nothing to do with health, because the same people that were putting people in positions in the medical industries were the same ones that were invested and that owned the pharmaceutical companies.
That's right.
And so I would say these are some good documentaries that you can look up. That will
let's get the links for them so we can share them in the description.
Some good documentaries that you can look up, but don't stop at the documentaries. After you've watched the documentaries, they'll kind of point you in a direction, but do your research on these topics and into these industries. But interestingly enough, the Most High Elijah Muhammad didn't make this documentary. He didn't name it. I kid you not. This documentary is named The Devil We Know. Let me repeat that. It's called The Devil We Know. And this is a documentary about the DuPont company, which is a chemical manufacturer. And so it talks, the premise of this documentary is how the DuPont industry, the DuPont factories were poisoning the lakes and streams and different things of this town, and was causing people to have different birth defects. And so the main narrative follows this man who was born like with one eye or something was going on. He had some deformities that he was born with, because not him, but his mother used to work at a Teflon factory. And she working at that factory for a prolonged period of time, being exposed to it, she had, when she got pregnant with her child, she asked, DuPont if she was going to have anything to worry about from working with that, and they told her no. So she ended up having a deformed child, and she wanted to ask Teflon if DuPont, if there was a connection between working at the Teflon factory. And basically they lied to her. So she went on trying to sue the DuPont company, and then just over the years, some reporter ended up picking up this story, and they found out that the chemicals in Teflon, which is a chemical that the body cannot process or get rid of. And so they found out that it was somewhere in the 90th percentile of every person on the planet has trace amounts of Teflon in their bloodstream. And they even found that newborn children had Teflon in their bloodstream before they even got out into the world. That's how much these chemicals. And so it deals with how these environmental agencies were in cahoots with these big companies, and also this huge conspiracy around the chemical industry and the pharmaceutical industry, and it deals with the history of those things. But also another documentary, which is a two-part documentary, which is called How Big Oil Conquered the World, which is the first part. And then the second part, and the second part is why big oil conquered the world. And so what the first documentary does is it starts off with John D. Rockefeller and who he was. And so interestingly enough, John D. Rockefeller's father, his nickname was Devil.
Devil.
They call him Snake Oil Bill.
Yeah, because his name was William Rockefeller. And you know the nickname from and the nickname from William is Bill, so his nickname was Devil Bill, because this man, he was a snake oil salesman, literally, where he would lie to people and said that his tonic, his snake oil tonic, was a cure-all for diseases including cancer. But also, not only was he a snake oil salesman, but he was a rapist, a bigamist, and all these other things. That, you know, and he was a scammer, but yet his descendants became really the rulers of the modern world. And so, but yes, it starts the story from Devil Bill Rockefeller, and then it goes all the way into how the Rockefellers end up monopolizing the oil industry, and also they brought in other families that were like the banking families. Became, because they saw the money that was being made in oil, they decided to get involved in oil, and that's how the Rothschilds got involved with them. But then what happened is that basically, just like the bankers got into the oil industry, the oil industry got into the banking industry, and then now you have this kind of and this is on the rise of the Industrial Revolution. So now this is really the leaders of the New World Order that are responsible for, you know, what we saw coming out of the 20th century. And then that kind of ends it off. But then the second part, which is how big oil conquered the world, it goes into how after they had really effectively conquered the economy and things like that, that they started to get into eugenics, because after they gained power and wealth, that control over power and wealth wasn't enough for them. They literally wanted to make the world in their image and after their likeness through a process of birth control, as birth control defined by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which is really a grafting process where they really wanted to graft out what they call undesirables from the gene pool. So, and this, like I always say, I thank Allah for this white man, James Corbett. Go check out his YouTube page, The Corbett Report. But really, if you know the teachings, you really can see the narrative, and really you can connect the dots within the supreme wisdom, where these people, you know, in these industries are mentioned within the supreme wisdom. And so he really has a lot of points. Like I said, don't just watch the documentary, but research it yourself. But you really can tie that into the supreme wisdom lesson and fill in those gaps, because anyway, let me not get off too far on that. But yes, those 3 documentaries, very good stuff. But yes, what are we talking about? Yeah, the medical industry. The medical industry being the way it is because it's made to make money. If anything that is a service that has an industry on the name of it, the service itself is the adjective, but the industry is the noun. So when you have a medical industry, medical describes the business, but it's still a business at the end of the day. Just like with the educational, you know, or the educational industry, all these are industries that's designed to make money. And the way that you make money with the medical industry is, as you Minister Ava was saying earlier, you Sister Deborah was saying earlier, is that you have to keep people sick in order to sell them the pill. So that's the thing, is that people being healthy is actually against their profit industry. It's against their bottom line. It's in direct contradiction to their bottom line. And so that's the thing, is that, you know, if they can't just make you sick through conventional means, but they can also poison the water, as the message said. And that's why he said, even when it comes down to eating the best of foods, there's still poison in the water you drink, in the air you breathe, and don't even get me started on the thoughts. And so when you think of health, this is a holistic view of health that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is talking about.
Mhm.
And as you said, that it needs to be researched, scholarly research, trial, peer reviewed and all.
Mhm. Well, we want to thank our viewers for being with us today. Of course, we want to thank Sister Shelley X Alexander. We want to thank Pratt X and Walaikum Salam. He sends the greetings. We want to thank Brother James John. He says Allahu Akbar and Allah is the greatest. And we want to thank Jones, I'm sorry. And we thank, excuse me if I mess it up, but Maquita Muhammad, and she says, all praise is due to Allah, and they are, for the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and for the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So we thank you all for joining us tonight. And yes, that is exactly the case. And the answer to Big Pharma, the answer to the medical industry, the answer to even coronavirus is found contained in these books right here. I don't know if you all heard, but this past week, they said that there's a company that is about to take their therapeutic to the FDA for emergency use approval, which they're finally, after millions and millions of people all over the world have taken this mRNA. This therapeutic actually is supposed to be an immune system booster. And because really the issue is, if you listen to Dr. Wesley on his lectures, his 2 lectures, Beyond Tuskegee, he talked about that there are designer, these are designer viruses. It's just like when you're doing coding. Now, once upon a time, Sister Gabrielle and I both have taken computer language classes. You had to know the computer language and you had to type it in, I'll say letter or bit by bit. But now with coding, you can drop in actually whole sentences of codes into a program. And it's the same way with these viruses. They can literally take pieces of viruses from here, pieces of viruses from here. They can drop it into one long strand of virus, and they can have a little bit of HIV, as Dr. Wesley shared with us. They have a little bit of the SARS. That's why they call it the SARS COVID, 19, or the novel coronavirus, because these are designer viruses that are being made in a laboratory. And so with that being said, if we understand how viruses work and that what they do is that they're opportunistic, so they strike when the defense system is down. So if, we all carry viruses in our body. If you've ever had a cold, you have the virus in your body. People carry all kinds of viruses that lie dormant because your immune system is operating properly. And so what these viruses are designed to do are designed to make a full frontal attack on your immune system. And while your immune system is suppressed, what it does is then goes around it, your immune system, and begins to attack the organs. That's why these people are having like these chronic organ failures, because of the fact that this is what this virus is designed to do. With the HIV virus, that's why it's called, it's a human, what is that? HIV, human immune deficiency virus, or acquired immune deficiency syndrome, which is called AIDS. And then you of course have HIV, which is the full-blown effects of having that virus. Once the body has succumbed and the T cell count has been affected, that's why that that's why it's able to attack you, because your immune system is down. Because having AIDS itself, even though it has a stigma to it, but really it's a virus that attacks the immune system. Like this COVID-19 attacks the immune system because it has part of this AIDS virus in it. Okay, now I say all that to say that they're coming out now with a protocol that is designed to help boost the immune system. But if you follow how to eat to live properly, if you Sister Gabrielle talked about the thoughts, if a certain mindset that you have to have, and of course, they said vitamin D is part of a therapy. Vitamin K, K2 and D3, part of the therapy. So what I'm saying is to say that literally before all these viruses were unleashed on us, we were already given the antidote for and how to eat to live in 1930. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us not to take, the MMR vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
So what did he know? He knew that I don't know how he knew. Now that's the quagmire. How did he know that there was a vector-borne virus? And this new, let me say, if you all think that, okay, well, I'm not going to take the AstraZeneca and I'm not going to take the Pfizer vaccine because I want to take the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is 1 dose. And that 1 dose is only, they say 50%. No, they said it's less effective on the COVID virus than the other 2. But if you think you'll take that and you'll be clear, let me tell you, this vaccine, according to what the scientists say, is a vector-borne virus, just like the MMR was a vector-borne virus that Minister Ava said that they said, I think it was polio. I'm not sure which one she said they took. But it's the same type of vector-borne virus that has the ability. Vectors are in physics, they talk about they have direction. So you can point a vector in a certain direction or towards a certain gene, and it can upregulate that gene for cancer. Because we have cancer cells that are produced every day in our body. But because our immune system looks at it as a foreign antigen, it kills it. But the vector-borne viruses target those cancer cells that are being produced in your body every day and upregulate them or turn them on. And then you get tumors, that could lead to cancer. So all these foreign things that we think that we're putting in our body to save us from coronavirus, which, if you had the proper immune system and you follow the protocols, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when I came in the nation back in the 90s, we didn't go to movies and where there were large crowds of people. We were told to stay away from large crowds of people. We didn't go to places where, you could be targeted out, where somebody could pull off some, random act of violence. We were told not to do that because that's how the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad raised it. He would actually, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, if it was a good movie that had good content, he would get the actual movie back in the day, a reel to reel, and play it in the mosque for the believers. So we have to be thinking that we're walking among the enemy. And so we have to be, what does our general orders tell us to do? General order 1 and 2?
Walk on post in a perfect manner, keeping always on the alert.
That's right. Got to keep always on the alert. And so we have to realize that we are among an enemy, as student minister Ava said. And she said, they hate us. They hate people who are sick. That's why they can allow people to languish, the elderly in these nursing homes. They said the other day, this elderly lady, she was in a nursing home, and because of all the COVID things that she may have had been exposed to the virus, but she died of dehydration. Do you know how painful that must be? From neglect. So I'm just saying that when you understand that you have an enemy, that you're dealing with an enemy, you got to act accordingly, you know? And so with that being the case, we have to act accordingly as we move about our day. We have to follow the dictates of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because as his teacher said of him, he will get us safely across. Everybody else out here, Jesse Jackson, I'm just gonna go ahead and say his name. He's going around telling people to take the vaccine and telling Black folks to repeat after me, I will take the vaccine. To hell with Jesse Jackson. That's what I got to say about him.
Because I kind of wanted to go, I guess, talk about the actual how to eat to live, but I think you made a good point, what you were just saying, because not only is following the how to eat to live, you know, in the dictates and the dietary law, right, and the lifestyle choices that are important for us, but also, as you were talking about, like just breaking down what are vector-borne viruses, what are viruses, how do they interact with the body, also while following the dietary law, but also education. Going back to, like I said, in this house, everything is garlic or education. Here's education again. And so, but just being properly educated, you know, can also be just as effective of following a dietary law as to not, you know, falling victim, because you can eat the proper foods but then still take the vaccine. How is that going to work? You know, I don't know how that's going to work, but that's just a possibility. But then also, so with this formulas, you have follow the dietary law, be educated, but also, as you said, following the right guidance, because your education is only as good as the person that gave it to you, right?
Come on now.
Right.
So you can say, you know, I got a say for instance a black belt from Joe Blow karate karate studio or whatever.
Online, huh?
Right. And then you know, you have a certificate, but it's only as good as the person that certifies you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so with that, being educated, right, living, you know, following a dietary law, but taking guidance, because again, Sister Deborah was telling me a conversation that she had with brother Kerry, her husband, is that, you know, it seems like it's the most educated of us Black people that are the ones that are taking the virus.
Yeah,
and so
the vaccine.
I mean,
mm-hmm.
The vaccine. And so the thing is that, and I was like, man, that was so I was like, yes, that is such a good point, because again, they're getting their education, right? Their certification in thinking. Mm-hmm. They're being taught the way to think by the same people that run the medical industry. It's the same people. Going back to, like we were saying, Spelman Women's College, mm-hmm. it was named after the wife of Rockefeller, mm-hmm. right? And so you think you're bad and bougie because you have a degree from one of these institutions that the person who's trying to kill you set up. Yeah. And so you're operating. So he programmed you to think like that because he does not love you. He hates you. Just because somebody give you something don't mean that they love you. That's right. English lesson number 6. Come on, you already knew where I was going. You already knew what I was going. So it says he likes the devil because the devil gives him nothing.
Gives him nothing. Mm-hmm.
Why?
Nothing.
So wait. How can you give somebody nothing? How can you give nothing?
That so whatever they have has no intrinsic value.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So he's giving you something, but at the same time, he's your enemy, right?
It's like a pacifier.
Come on. And it says, so why does he like the devil? And the answer is because the devil put fear in him when he's a little boy. Why does he fear it now since he is a big man? Because the devil taught him to eat the wrong food. So there's a direct connection between the foods you eat and the thoughts that you think.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying?
So teaches the most honorable life to mom.
Period.
Straight
and
up.
Even in his dietary law, he did not fail to neglect that you have to think the right thoughts. That's and right. If the thoughts that you are thinking are coming from the institutions that are trying to kill you, you're thinking suicidal thoughts.
Come on now, teach. Well, we are in our last 13 minutes of the podcast. We want to thank, it looks like I was just going to say, it looks like I actually put myself in the chat, but she's Deborah, but she spells her name differently. From Washington, D.C. She says, salam family. Assalamu alaikum, my dear sister, or walaikum salam. It's so good to have you join us. And we have a Devon Johnson. He says, straight talk, sis, exclamation mark, dot. Praise be to Allah. So with that being said, I want to transition right quick into the curriculum. So where are we going with this? You know, we always have to deal with education because this is New World Education Podcast. And so in this, we're transitioning into the Supreme Wisdom curriculum. And in this curriculum, we have put a school of how to eat to live in here because it's not enough for us to just passively, even just what I say, read these books. These books must be studied. This dietary law must be studied. It must become a part of us. And we should not wait until we become adults to understand this. This should be taught in the schools from the baby. We should know the science of the Navy being. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, if you feed a baby from the time it's born, he said, as soon as it's able to eat the bean that has been smashed up and kind of watered down with no seasoning in it, he said you should start feeding it to them. But he said that feeding them, not this whole wheat that we have out now, because most of the whole wheat has arsenic in it because our topsoil is filled with arsenic. But if you feed them feed them wheat and wheat bread that's cooked, that you cook, actually not Wonder Bread, that stuff that turn to paste in your colon, not that, not oral wheat, not all of that, the bread that you cook in your house with real milk, and preferably raw milk, but you don't feed the babies raw milk. You have to boil it to make sure that the bacteria are out after, and this is after they stop nursing, because babies at 6 months are still nursing, right? So you have to make sure that, he said that baby can live to be 240 years old. And if we could do that, why wouldn't we want to? Why wouldn't we strive to? You know how much progress you can make, Sister Deborah?
I would say it's probably not that people don't want to, or even that some haven't tried, but we have to keep in mind that we have a enemy who's lurking at every single corner.
Yeah.
And everywhere you turn. So you think everywhere. you know, and because we didn't understand the magnitude of what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has put out to the world, we keep falling victim at every turn because we think it's just, something some old man said a while ago. And being that the things that he said was so far in advance, even today as the minister, that being that we've been hitting the head so hard, we like that's what you talking about, that's not even, That's not even going on. What is that? That don't even make sense.
Mhm, mhm.
And so
And
that's
yeah,
why.
and coupled with, to your point, is that junk food or food that has zero nutritional value is so abundant.
Mhm.
It's just, it's everywhere. It's
Yeah.
it's the commercials, the subliminal messages. You know, you drive down the street, you think you don't see McDonald's, but your subconscious mind sees McDonald's. You know, you think you don't see all of this stuff, but your subconscious mind is recording all of this. And then you wonder why these cravings come up. Some of them are chemical, but some of them are implanted in your mind by a very wise and wicked deceiver. And then they keep you so busy that you really don't have the proper amount of time to prepare your food. So you wind up, because you're just tired at the end of the day, just going to get something to make your stomach stop growling. And so you wind up, it's a vicious cycle. So I agree with you. I agree that us living in the devil's world, but what if you were taught from a child, that this is something that just like even people that come or accept Islam as a way of life and then wind up, you know, finding themselves away from this way of life. Many of them never return back to pork, no matter what they're doing, because something in their mind, it made such an indelible impression in their mind, they never went back to it. So what if we can get our children young enough where what happens is that it becomes so imprinted on their mind before Oreos, before, Lay's potato chips, and all of this becomes imprinted on their mind, that certain other foods become imprinted on their mind, and that these things are not options for them.
It can be done, but that's where it comes in with the adult has to have, the discipline to be able to do that. Because like you often say that, we let our children get away with things that we don't want to correct in ourselves.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times we give them, Oreos, because like I want some Oreos, so and I don't feel like cooking right now. I was like work all day, so here, take this Raisin Canes.
No doubt.
With your little piece of pie or whatever. I don't know. They come with it. So
and look, you all know y'all didn't have nothing but bean soup, cabbage.
And as a child, I got so sick of bean soup, but as an adult, I'm like, where the bean soup at?
Yes.
Because it's like now as an adult, you put some Oreos in my face. Not saying that I won't eat an Oreo. Just throw that out there. However, I'm like, where the bean soup at?
Yes.
Where is it? I need it. My body is telling me that I need some bean soup, something healthy. Yep.
But see, sometimes what Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, and I really had to get to the curriculum right quick, but when you don't have money, when you don't have money, I couldn't take my 4 children out to go eat fast food. I would have paid $50 to get y'all some McDonald's. You think I was gonna do that? No. So we had to eat beans. Okay. So that's kind of, the reality of it. And it wasn't a bad way of living, really was a good way of life. But it, at the time it seemed like, well, I want something different, but
it was torture.
But I'm telling you, that's why
it's the same way. It's the same way with my daughter now.
But that's why you look so good at 35. That's why you look so good at 27.
But I have to say something. Going back to, I think what you were alluding to too. How do you get a person to do this? Like I said, in this house, education of garlic. So it's like, education. But going back to education, is an adjective, but the noun is the system. And that's the thing. It's about systems. Because going even to this what you were saying about how do you get a child, and you were saying, oh, it's the adults have to do something. I'm like, because one thing, this idea that where do we get this idea that children have a say so? I don't know. That's a new thing. You know what I'm saying? Like we have an idea oh, I can't get my child to do this. And I'm like, well, one, that's your child, that's your possession. And what you was just, I'm going somewhere, is because going back to systems and going back to these industries, because the other day I was watching some Disney Channel stuff with my niece, and that's one thing we kept remarking, is that on Disney Channel, there's always a broken home, whether one parent died or one parent isn't there.
Always.
They always paint adults as incompetent.
Wow.
So this is putting in children's minds that adults are incompetent and that children run the household, because all these shows are always about the children. So they always paint the parents as dumb, or there's always, either a father
It's a
or
single
mother, but
parent.
it's never both parents in the household.
With the exception, that's a Reagan. Reagan had two parents. Just want to throw that out there.
This is true. But that's my point, is that when you think about these things, when we're saying, like, an educational system, so that's just one part of the equation. It needs to interact with an economic system, because once you get out of the education, you need employment. You need to be able to take care of yourself. And so when you get into economics, there are different parts of human behavior that needs to be satisfied. People need to eat, which is an industry. The Ministry of Agriculture. People need, people need to they need to have clothing and shelter, which is another industry, which is the construction industry, fashion industry. So these are things that need to be thought of in concert, and they need to be done now.
Right. And the minister coupled education and land together, which, land, you can have agriculture, you can have clothing, you can have shelter. So really land, everything comes up out of land. So education and land. So let's go ahead and go right quick to the curriculum, and then we're going to shut it down for tonight. And this is the, tell me how I'm looking, because where it has a little fuzzy situation.
It's clear. It's clear.
Okay, well, I know what the problem is. Now, this is the school of how to eat to live, and what, Gabrielle? Think to live, how to eat and think to live for health and beauty appearance. Now, I know that is a long name for a school, but as we have said in the past, that the reason that we have these very descriptive names, until we come up with, as we develop our new language system, we will come up with a word that encompasses all what this means. But it's not just enough of how to eat to live. You have to think to live, okay? And it has to be for health, okay? Nutrition. And the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about beauty appearance, that eating to live will make you, and when I say beauty, it's not going to change your genetics, but beauty is such an intrinsic quality that you can see beauty in, if you're looking with the right eye in everything. And so in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, take time to read this introduction. And this is from the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, but the How to Eat to Live's books 1 and books 2 are compilations of articles. And this says, not knowing how to eat to live has been the trouble with the world for a long time, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad states. And he says, the people have tried all kinds of food, and they are still looking for all kinds of food for long life. Regardless to what kind of food that you may find which satisfies your taste, you could kill yourself with that good food if you eat too regularly and when the body does not need it. Eat once a day or eat once every other day in order to give the body time to digest the previous meal. The digestive juices in the stomach and the intestines will live longer. The walls of the stomach and the intestines will have time to repair itself. That's what's called autophagy. If the meal was 24 hours or 24 or 28 or 72 hours ago? How do you think Methuselah and Noah lived to be more than 900 years old? They did not eat 3 meals a day. For every meal that we eat, there is a little poison in that meal. For every meal that we eat, there is a little poison stored in the body. The poison of the previous meal is added to the next meal, and the more poison that is collected, the more powerful effect the poison will have on the body. The white race, having a limited time to live on the earth, makes them by nature to do many things that cause death to you and to me, because they know that they will not be on the planet Earth except for a short time. For this reason, they try to take you and me with them while we have an unlimited time to live on the earth. Eat 1 meal a day, eat good foods, and pray 5 times a day to your God and my God, Allah, who came in the person of Master Muhammad, to whom all praise is due forever. And you will be joined with your black brother to live forever by knowing how to eat to live. And this is in the, like I said, a reprint from the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Muhammad quotes this. She says, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad stated that music, color, and medicine are the essence of God's true religion. So when we talk about the medical profession, it's coupled with music. Music has the ability to change your mood, change your thinking pattern, your heart rhythm. Colors have the ability to make you aggressive, to calm down. All of this is part of this thinking process, this health process. And then lastly, I'll read this from the study guide, Who is God? The introductory letter by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, dated February 23rd, 1997. It states, Master Muhammad came to America by himself. He is a master with the knowledge of understanding the root of this world. Now that's key. His knowledge enables him to uproot this world and to begin a new one. His complete understanding of our illness and the illness of the entire human family enabled him to design a medicine to heal us. He is alive and has absolute power to bring his will into fruition because his will is in complete harmony with the eternal will of the originator of the heavens and the earth. Now, going on to look at this school, the course description says that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that there's no way for us to learn to eat the right way there's no way for us to learn the right way to eat in order to live a long life except through the guidance of the teachings of Allah, who came in the person of Master Muhammad, hands down. And the outcome, the student is to gain life abundancy. That's what this school is designed to do, so that the student can gain life abundancy through strict obedience to Allah's, Master Muhammad's will. And strict obedience will bring about long life, good health, and beauty appearance. Okay? The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, and this is part of the student outcome, he said, in the next life, which will grow out of this old life, there will be no such thing as sickness. So that's what we're striving for. That's ultimately where we want to bring our students to. That we won't understand the concept of these degenerative diseases that we suffer from currently. And he says that there will be no such thing as sickness and drugs used in the human body for the purpose of destroying disease germs, because we will not do that which causes disease and sickness. It starts on the order that the righteous shall not eat but one meal a day. That's how it starts. Or every 2 days, and eat better foods. This will prolong our life and double and triple our life expectancy. And then he says, blessed be, and to be blessed to see the next life is worth praying for, my Black brothers and sisters. So I'm not going to go on and reading the rest of the student outcome, but that's one of the outcomes. We want strict obedience to how they live. And the other one is that we want to produce a human being who does not suffer from these degenerative diseases that are brought about really by our own doing, for the most part. And so we have here dropped in to the text, and it's a question. It says, can our DNA magnetically teleport itself? One researcher thinks so. So this is something to look at, the whole concept of the DNA. Now, when I was reading in How to Eat to Live Book 1, it was something that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that hit my mind like a ton of bricks when he said that, and I'm paraphrasing, that Master Fard Muhammad came to change us into an entirely new people. And when you're talking about dietary laws and how you eat, it has the ability to change your genes. How do I know this? Because of research. How you eat can upregulate certain malignant genes, or it can downregulate them. In other words, they're like lock and key. So you can turn on certain things that causes diseases by what you eat, or you can turn them off. And so when you're turning on and off genes, you are doing genetic manipulation. And so that's what Master Fard Muhammad is doing with us to make us into a brand new people. Through simple, not through all of this stuff you do in the laboratory, just what we put in our mouths. So let's look at some of the departments. The first department is the Department of Nutrition. Now, I'm sure I took a class in child nutrition. And they may have taught me something. I don't remember a lot of it. I'm sure in high school, they probably taught you something on nutrition in biology or something like that. But this stuff is so irrelevant, the way that it's taught. It does not make an impact. And then they wait to teach you these things once you get in high school, after all of your bad eating patterns have already been set. So we propose that we have a Department of Nutrition, and it's a comprehensive study of I'm going to use the word diet in quotations, of How to Eat to Live books 1 and 2. We will deal with kitchen chemistry, because all of the things that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told the MGT, there is nothing that you should put on your husband's plate that you do not know how it affects the body, or how it affects, the effects that it has when it goes in your body. Now just imagine that. Of all the stuff that we're cooking, we fry some chicken or fry whatever we're frying. What the oil that you're using, what happens when you start frying that oil? Why does it bubble up? What chemical reaction is happening during that process of frying? Why should you know this? All of this has very important significance on our health. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad deals with it in a very straightforward way in How to Eat to Live. We need to know food science. We have a Department of Naturopathy, which deals with self-healing, light and color therapy, reflexology, music therapy, herbal medicine, and acupuncture. A Department of Allied Health, which deals with the 9 systems and the universe within, the 10th system, and the brain. We have also in this department, we deal with midwifery, how to give birth to a God, obstetrics, I'm having a hard time saying that. How to deliver a baby. You got it for me, Gabrielle? Obstetrics. Okay. It's not flowing well, but that's the gist of it. How to deliver a baby. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught that children should be taught how to deliver babies by the time that they're in 3rd and 4th grade. And delivering a baby is not really an easy thing. So just imagine how much knowledge you have to deliver a baby at that age. Dealing with postpartum, the science of breastfeeding, nursing. We need a department of or school study of nursing, pre-medicine, but not medicine for this, that we need a medicine for the hereafter. What kind of medicine will we have in a world where people are not getting sick? So let's think about it. A department of physical education comes here. We have kinesiology and exercise, drill as exercise. We have a department of psychic abilities. That's why I was talking about the DNA being transferred. And if you look at Elon Musk with the neural net, this man he's doing some stuff. You need to watch him. Keep one eye open on Elon Musk, because I don't know what he's doing, but you better watch him, because he's trying to be a thought killer, thought stealer or something, because he's trying to get into our minds. But astral projection, when we're talking about traveling to the far planet Platoon, we're not talking about in a contraption. So how does this work? How does your mind become so elevated that you can remote view? Telekinesis. They say that people can, be able to move things from a distance. Telepathy, reading minds, teleportation, all of these things. So these are some of the schools that we have in or some of the courses that we have within the school. So just wanted to kind of share this with us. We continue to think about the whole idea of how to eat to live, and that as being a school of study within this new world education. So as we close out, are there any closing comments on anything that we've said today?
Okay, April. But I love that conceptual model that you just showed us, and I love the way that you put it together and approached health and nutrition as the individual is in the driver's seat, down to when you were kind of explaining, about children learning how to deliver babies. And, some of us might think, oh, deliver babies and cringe, but like, we're human beings, and babies coming into this world is a very normal thing. That's how all of us got here. But yet this is something that's foreign to most human beings, that their beginning. And that's the thing I feel like in this world, is that medicine and health is taught as something external to the person. It's almost like when people get sick and get disease, they really feel like they get disease. That's like, oh, it's just because you just had bad luck. Like if you have cancer, it's because you put something in your mouth, like in your body.
Yeah.
Or if you breathe something in, or you put something into your body made your body, that offset the balance that your body needs for optimal health. It's like no freak accident gave you cancer. No freak accident. There are certain things that people are born with, but even that you can trace it back to probably something that went wrong with their parents. Not saying that the parents, all the time have to do something wrong, but say if you, you work in a chemical plant.
Right.
As I was saying with the situation with the man on the documentary, or if you were overexposed to microwaves, so it's like this idea. So this idea that the only way you can fix yourself or find help is to go to a medical provider or go somewhere to someone else, instead of starting with you first and then kind of eliminating what was the cause of it. And so that's
Right.
something that we all need early in life, because the earlier we can get in control of what we do to ourselves or what we allow ourselves to be around, we can live a longer life.
Yeah.
You know, if you start eating right when when you're 75 years old, as opposed to if you start eating right when you're 10 or
Yeah.
6.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that is very, very key, and something that we need to, while we're in our chambers, start reflecting on.
I like that while we're in our chambers, because nobody thought that we would be a year later still in our chambers. But this is the perfect opportunity, even though, it's a year later, but these are the types of things that we need to be focused on, you know, as followers of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. This is the time for self-examination, self-analysis, self-correction, self-improvement, because you know, what a waste it would be, or what a waste it has been if we've been here for almost 1 year in March, maybe April, and have not become not one iota better than we were with this extra time that we've had. What a waste. And so really, I just really, plead with us, get into your studies, because knowledge really is power. It's power. Do something to change yourself to become closer to the ideal, to the standard of what we have been. We like to say, and we have even turned it into a platitude that the Black man is God. But if we're not improving ourselves day by day, then white man don't mind you saying it, because it really means nothing. So we have to make our word, bond, make his word bond. And make it true in fact and indeed that the Black man and woman are God. And so, with that being said, the first place and the easiest place to start, you don't even have to get deep in your psychology, to eat one meal a day and nothing in between. Just that one thing right there, that one discipline opens a vista of possibilities for other disciplines to be accomplished. Because if you can control what you put in your mouth and how frequently you put it in your mouth, you have control of what you eat. You know, I'm not saying everybody has a car, but you don't have to have a car now. You can call DoorDash, you can call Uber Eats, you can call all these different kind of people. Walmart even deliver to you. Amazon deliver to you. So if you need some good food, the whole concept of food desert, and I think they may even take SNAP cards. So the whole concept, and for those who don't know what SNAP cards are, because y'all wasn't laughing, that's food stamps. So they may even take that. So for the whole concept that we can't get better food because we can't get to the store, y'all, we just need to cut that out, because that ain't even the world we live in. You can go on Amazon Prime and they will deliver it in 2 days. Okay. So, I mean, they have all kind of services now. They have Misfit organic food, where they will deliver the organic food to your house in a box. So all of these concepts that we can't do something better for ourselves is just, we have to stop making excuses, because the excuses have been eliminated. And so what I'm just suggesting that eating is something that's natural, something you do every day, and you have absolute 100% control over it. So take control of this part of your life. And this is how the hereafter begins. This is how we begin to make a change in our lives. So I just wish all of us, good health, longevity, life abundance, And it can start with how to eat to live. So make sure if you don't have this book, you need to pick it up, and you can go to storefinalcall.com and get you a copy of this book. I would only order it from the Nation of Islam because they have other books that are out there, but they're not, it's not that they're not authentic, but they have, mistakes in them. So get you book 1 and book 2, and don't just read it, study it, And if you have any questions about things, research it. And in close, I just want to give you one example of something that I researched a couple of years ago. And the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we should not eat freshly baked bread because it buckles in our stomach again and it produces a lot of gas. He said we should cook our bread or brown it at least one other time. And he said the preferable way is to make it, brown through and through. That's what he says. And so, when you put your bread in a toaster, right, it's only brown on the outside. And if you tear it or cut it, it's kind of white on the inside. But he says cook it through and through, almost kind of like a crouton, but it doesn't have to be that hard if you cook it slowly. And I just randomly did a Google search. I said, what is the health benefit of baking your bread more than one time? Now get ready for this, y'all. It was research done. They say every time you bake your bread, it reduces the glycemic index by half. By half. So that means that if you have a glycemic index of one slice of bread of 90 carbohydrates, when you bake it one time, it goes down to 45. But just check it out. It doesn't stop there. If you bake it again, it goes down by 50% again. So from 45, it can go to 23 or 20, about 23, 24, 26 or 27. Yes.
Can I say something? And that,
sure.
As soon as you said that, that made sense. And not to get too nerdy, because I know we on time, but one thing I do remember, many things that I do remember from biology, is that there are ways that you can change a protein, right? And so what was it? Heat, pressure, or stress, right? Or chemicals. And so when you literally apply heat to a thing, you change like the chemical compound, and you change the structure of it. So if you were dealing with bread, like you said, you would lower the glycemic index by adding heat to it. That's one of those 3 ways that I remember that I got with the biology test, right? And and it kind of reminds me of what we learned in our MGT class about browning rice, right? That was, you have to wash the rice and brown it because that takes some of the starch out, right? That'll. So yes, ma'am.
Very good.
That makes so much sense.
And just let me tell you this: when you said that, it gave me the science of what's going on, because what happens is that in bread you have the starch part and then you have the gluten part of the wheat. If you take flour and you wash it under water and just keep washing it, you'll wash away all the starch. And what will be left is just the gluten part of it. And gluten is a total protein. So bread has protein in it. And so then in order to prepare the gluten, you may want to change it into veggie protein or veggie meat or whatever, you have to boil it. So what you essentially do is take all of the starch out of the bread. So obviously, with heating it, it removes the starch compound.
We just got real nerdy just then, and I love
I need to live. See, that's why this is so simple. If we would just take these books, and because we are nerdy, we can't, we just have to know why. But if we just took these books and just followed it, we wouldn't have to do any research. Because it's so simple. You know how much time I could have saved? I could have been doing something else instead of researching something that was already true. It said it in the first paragraph. So anyway, with that being said, we thank you all for joining us. If you're not watching us now and you catch us on the rebroadcast, we appreciate you because we know that you are a very, very special person. If you can listen to us with, we kind of sometimes go, get a little nerdy with what we say. And maybe a little futuristic, even so, but we know that because our market is so niche. So if you stay in there and listen to us, we know that you're special and we appreciate you. Our viewership has been growing little by little, increment by increment. If you think that this is some content that somebody else could use, please do share. Please do share. Please like. And please, if you're not a member of our community, please subscribe to our channel because it just, it helps because we want to share this information with more people because we believe in the new educational paradigm. We see it. It's not even far off. It's right here. And so all we have to do is come together and determine that we are going to forge through to a new world and a new education. And that's how we will, of course, be able to transition from this world to the next by studying our teachings and our lessons that were given to us by Allah, the person of Master Ava Muhammad. Until next time, we would like to, of course, wish you the best and give you the greetings of Assalamu alaikum.